So I'll go straight for the Q's and A's that we've gotten in the Q&A section. So what this came in the beginning, so perhaps Sebastian, Olivier, what are your thoughts on quality in regards to refurbished products in the off-grid solar sector? What performance metrics could companies put in place while introducing refurbished products? Now, I know none of you are specifically in solar sector industry, but in general, if you take it as any type of refurbished product, what kind of performance metrics are there, or should there be?
Yeah, if I can kick off, I'm indeed not active today in off-grid solar products when it comes to end of life, but comparable to technology devices, ICT devices, or phones or tablets, I would argue that the best quality should be actually the performance metrics you should look at. That both from a technical and an aesthetical point of view, they are state of the art. So, but happy to take this question offline as well, Elizabeth Nyambura. If you would want to reach out to me, I would be gladly engaging you with our teams in Belgium as well, and asking them if they have some experience on those metrics, and then we can take it from there.
Great, thank you. So do you give any incentives to people so they will give you their old electronic devices for you to refurbish, as by SIDA? How is it in Sweden, in Rego and the Nordic countries? Are there any incentives?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we need to convince people to change their behaviors, and there's a high second-hand value to products, and of course we need to have our customers take part of that second-hand value. So we always pay for our used electronics. So instead of scrapping your old electronics, you might get you're gonna get really low paid for the scrap materials. We're gonna pay you for the value of the products. So I think these incentives are really important, convincing people to make this change.
Yeah, and then I guess the challenge is to come in before they have discarded them to make sure you reach them out. And also, I'm sorry, I wanted to, on that performance metrics, we were supposed to have Konrad Moore in the program. I hope next year perhaps he can be from Circular Computing, who are remanufacturing tablets and laptops, so they look like new, they have the old parts, and they perform like new ones as well, even though we're saving a lot of it. So, just saying that. Okay, Olivier.
Yeah, today we don't...
I answered some of these questions, so that's good. With the Green Cities partnering.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Helen. It will be a pleasure to join the forthcoming meeting. Please provide link to joining the platform if there is one. And then what are your thoughts on transferable EPR on refurbished / secondhand products? Do you think that could be a future feature, to have the EPR go with the products from one country to another?
No.
Or from new products, and when you sell them again, you're a new producer of that product. Well, we heard Malcolm.
Yeah, so actually, when we put the reused products on the market again, we become the producer. So, for example, when we put things in the market in Sweden, we pay the EPR fee for that product. So that will be paid twice for that same product. Mm-hmm. So that's already happening today to a certain extent. And So the iPad who will put, and this of course works different in different countries, and I don't know how it works everywhere, but in many cases the iPad, the IT reuser who puts the product on the market becomes the producer of it.
Yeah. Another question from Gala Gerard. Will there not be a conflict between reuse of electronic devices and innovation, which is the main driver of global economy?
Well,
do we see?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, I'm right now sitting on a reused computer, and I don't think that anyone of you guys who are sitting at a new computer could do much more on your computer than I would on my 4-year-old computer. And we're also in a situation where the world is in demand of electronics. It's still a high demand for electronics everywhere. So I think it's a bigger challenge on how can we make sure to meet that demand in a sustainable way. And of course, there will always be produced new things. We're having innovation. But if you would look at the innovation from one iPhone to the other, it's a design question in many regards. It is not a completely innovative new product that will change the world in any way.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think innovation will only be fostered if more reused devices are available, because in a country with a relatively low access to technology devices, to quality devices, theoretically innovation also is on a break, because the more people connected, the more people working on collaborative systems and being online will generate obviously much more innovation. So I think I would rather turn the question around and say more access to reused devices will boost innovation.
Yeah, I'm also talking about Simone. Yeah, and as well as affordability. We all know we have issues of costs, and if we leave reuse out of or reconditioned or secondhand, it will only be for the high end. So we have the affordability aspect in, and that is very, very critical for our continent, especially.
Great remark there. And Helen, I like the way you put with the standardization and the chargers, which also I know Malcolm mentioned earlier this morning as a total. It's so frustrating where we have so many different ones that could be at least a few, which will reduce the amount of e-waste, of course. But what do you think of the right to repair that we were talking about the other day? Was it Wednesday or yesterday? But have you heard of that? And is that something that you are also applying into the Ugandan regulatory?
Thank you.
The right to repair.
Yes, I have had of right to repair, and I think it is very critical. Not giving an example of the chargers, but when you have right to repair and you have standardization, then you can get parts from here and there and know that they'll fit in another. And so standardization at component level is very critical, even before the gadget level, So component, even a charger itself, you notice that it's not only one part. We have the type C, then you have the cable that has power loss and everything. So the right to repair should cater for all this. Standardization should actually care for all this. And then standardization should take into effect durability. Yeah, because if right now you're all aware that the iPhone 12 Pro, I don't use an iPhone, so I don't know. You only buy the iPhone without the charger, yeah? So the assumption is you're just upgrading, yeah? And then sometimes it's your first equipment, then you have to go over town in Uganda, and then the charger is quite expensive. I think that is the line we are going into, to ensure that standardization of components, accessories, and gadgets is critical, and this will definitely reduce e-waste volumes. as long as durability has been taken care of. And of course, the circularity in it. Thank you.
For sure. And following up on that, because it was one of your questions also, how do we encourage the return or the upgrading that people will do this? It was mentioned by Piotr Bajak from the European Environmental Bureau. One of his suggestions were the idea of lower EPR fees for those companies that are actually promoting and enabling reuse, which would drive them to hopefully then get their customers to come back for the kind of upgrading, etc. Is that something that you could put into the Ugandan?
Yes. Well, everything has to take care of affordability. Once funds or money frustrates the masses, the law, whatever is in place, will not be picked up. It will not be reinforced. I was talking to we know we have in Uganda or African countries, we look at a lot. We keep mentioning incentives, and they're usually financial incentives. As in, when I take back, is there a small fee or the collection or something? But the reality is, while you're thinking of a financial incentive and there's a take back, an incentive where they pay you financially, you can even increase the amount of theft, So someone can pick your working laptop that they have no value in to just put it there, it's not working, to be given a fee. But then going back on the EPR, yes, the funds have to be low, and that it has to be a small fee that is acceptable into the pricing of the entire stream, of the price of the price of the gadget, the producer, and everything. So yes, that is something the discussions are still ongoing. The appreciation is still at that level, but we have to consider that once there's no affordability, we can't move on.
Yeah, and I'm thinking as we see now, I'm talking as the We Center, we see certain products and certain brands that are perhaps in a worse quality than others. Imagine if we could have that kind of data supplying with the EPR system, if you're going to pay for what you bring into the country or to the continent, and you have substandard products, if there could be a difference in those kind of pricings. We have a question. Thank you. Sebastian, which countries buy the most refurbished products from Inrego? Do you only supply products within EU, or do you sell them to the whole world?
Yes, thank you very much. So we sell most of the products in Sweden to Swedish companies, municipalities, schools, a lot in the Nordics, and about 90% we sell is within Europe. There's a lot in the Baltics and Central Europe. But we also sell to, I showed a picture there, in Africa, in Asia, North Europe. It's a global IT reuse market, and it also goes both ways. I mean, if you look at the IT reuse market, the demand is higher than the amount of reused products. So we have to import electronics from other countries to sell to Swedish customers because we don't have enough on the Swedish market. So, for example, we recently won a large procurement at a municipality in Sweden. And if you want 1,000 computers, the same model or similar, in the circular economy, it's more difficult to get hold of those products. In the linear economy, you have 1,000 of one product. In the circular economy, we need to collect those from different countries, and then we provide that to our customer. So it goes both ways. And if you want to know more about that, you can look at our website, and we mention every country that we sell to.
Thank you. We have another question from Badir Karim. You don't think that refurbishing, and this goes then for Sebastian and Olivier, I guess, but also Helen, of course. You don't think that refurbishing would be any more difficult given the policies put in place by manufacturers for planned obsolescence, like the repair difficulty, and direct recycling? Did you think that for them it is direct competition for their new product? Goes into what we were talking about a little bit earlier.
That's a spot on question, Mr. Badi, but this planned obsolescence is obviously something we all know that is a hot topic, and that like in Europe, for instance, the European Commission is really very actively working with the industry across the 27 EU countries to exactly make sure that there is no more planned obsolescence and that manufacturing is becoming greener and becoming much more fit for reuse and for repair. You see many repair cafes popping up in big cities all over the countries here in Europe. And my understanding would really be, my expectation rather, that most manufacturers will really shift to that model. Because there will be fiscal incentives, there will be penalties if they don't do it, there will be naming and shaming probably in the future, and consumers will just not accept it anymore. So I think, refurbishment is definitely only the way up, and it's what will become mainstream even more than today.
Yeah, I think that was a really great answer. And just to add upon that, and of course, if you look at Nordics, how people use electronics, we have an obsolescence that goes beyond how the producers are planning for it. We have an obsolescence of people wanting to change equipment way before the software even is an issue. If you look at iPhones, for example, they are in Sweden supported with the most important things on their iOS systems up until 10 years after they're sold. Most people have changed phones 2 years after they're sold. So it can be used a lot more times there. And we can really double, triple, and the lifetime of electronics already with today's system. So I think planned obsolescence, and of course, producers are not always making it the easiest, but that's not the issue. Issues are how we are handling electronics, and in a lot of sense, the obsolescence of people's behaviors of wanting new instead of wanting something reused. But then also in this IT reuse market, the ITED market, a lot of producers are getting into that market as well. They want a piece of that market as well. There's a business opportunity there. So we're seeing that happen as well. And we are also collaborating with a lot of producers, directly and also indirectly. So there's a lot of things happening there. But I would say, in general, there's so much demand for electronics that the reused electronics is not really competing with their new cells today.
It's true. We also spinning on this, because earlier it was also mentioned that customers need to be educated and also aware that it is okay to buy secondhand and that pre-loved products are good and they can actually have a really good quality, etc. So we have some poll questions in the right-hand panel. We would love for you to also answer which continent you're from, how long you've been engaged in the e-waste issues, and how you found this session. But we've added 2 questions. Have you bought refurbished electronics before? And would you mind buying refurbished electronics? Because you might not have bought it before, but yeah, you wouldn't mind. So we would love for everyone to go in that poll session and answer those and submit your vote so that we see the answers there. And electronics, now we're talking about ICT products. there is a lot more electronical products and household appliances, etc. I know the secondhand market is quite large in general, but how we can reach standards also within that is going to be a future. So hopefully next year we will revisit all of this, of course, and see how far we've come during the year. Do we have any more questions that I haven't? No? Okay. Great. I was wondering, I know, Olivier, you also have courses for youths. Do you have any maker space like for arts or jewelry, like the ones I'm wearing today? If anyone sees it, it's a delete button.
Yeah, it looks gorgeous on you, Simon. I think we don't have it right now. Our makerspace has just been kind of operationalized a couple of months ago only, but it's definitely one of the things we would be very happy in supporting a local startup that wants to establish this type of activity, and then just like any other startups that would like to do something using the whereabouts of IT recycled equipment. So I think it's perhaps something we can team up also with CFSK and WeCenter.
Would love to, definitely. So I would like to ask for some closing remarks from this panel before we go to our last part of this day and this whole conference, which is the closing remarks from our CEO, Bonnie Mbithi, who I know is already here, who has joined us. But kindly, let's go with Sebastian, Olivier, and Helen. If you could let me know your thoughts about what we've discussed for this conference, and also what you see before you in the near or long-term future. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I can go ahead. And first of all, I just want to say thank you for organizing this. It's inspiring hearing all of this happening in Africa. And what I want to add is it's the difference between a linear economy and the circular economy is collaboration. And we need to collaborate a lot more, and we need to make this happen together. And there's all of these different initiatives that's happening here that we're hearing about today. It's really making me optimistic about the future, and that we can make the electronics drastically reduce as the fastest growing waste stream globally. And it's only together that we can do this. And conferences like this gives me a lot of hope.
Thank you. Olivier?
Yeah, I'm fully on the same page here. I think there's lots of work in progress, but there is lots of very favorable environment aspects right now happening. So what Sebastian said is fully resonating also for me.
Did he lose his voice? Yes, Simone. I think I can go next. Can you hear me?
Thank you. Yeah, I had a short downfall of the internet.
IT challenges. Okay. Yeah, thank you for organizing this. Of course, my desire would be, much as you may frequently have it, but let's not sit back. I know you have a lot of feedback from this. There were many questions. There are many suggestions. Let's keep the discussions going, even if it's not a big event like this, so that in the next big event we have impact. And let's have a next big event. I hope we will do have a next big event. My desire would also look at the next International E-Waste Day, not for this event, but which is in October. We can have another dialogue that speaks to the feedback, the questions, the suggestions, the recommendations, the way forward, so that Africa can realize the circular economy aspects and management of e-waste in a more sustainable way. But thank you for organizing this. This was definitely great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those kind words, and also for the encouragement of doing more. we will definitely, and together with now, and we've also connected many businesses and key persons all around Africa and the world. I don't see that this is going to become less. It's just going to grow really rapidly now. So we still have the poll results. I want to go through them before we. Have you bought refurbished electronics before? 55% of us says yes many times, 28% yes once, and 17% haven't tried buying. And the question, the next one was, would you mind buying refurbished electronics? And 61% says not at all. And then 32% says yes. I don't know, hopefully they just read the question wrongly. And then I'll think about it was 6%. So that is great. I mean, we're progressing with this. Practical ones. Thank you so much for your last words in this session. And please stay tuned while I call for our CEO at the WE Center and Computers for Schools Kenya, along with Computers for Schools Kenya Institute and Digital Pipeline Africa, Mr. Boniface Mbiti.